In this video, we'll be taking a look at two NFL games happening on October 15, 2023, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games. So 2 picks for each game, 4 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 2 NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Minnesota Vikings versus Chicago Bears, a pair of National Football Conference North teams that enter Week 6 tied for the basement of the Division II battle on the gridiron in the Windy City, hoping to build some positive momentum. The Minnesota Vikings are on the road as they make the trip to face the Chicago Bears Sunday afternoon. Minnesota fell 27-20 at home to Kansas City last Sunday in their previous contest, failing to cover the line as a 3.5-point underdog. Chicago earned a 40-20 home win over Washington in their previous game back on October 5th, winning outright as a 6-point underdog. In the all-time regular season series between the teams, the Vikings own a 65-56-2 record and have taken the last 4 meetings. That includes a 29-13 road win in the most recent matchup back on January 8th. The Minnesota Vikings look for their second road win to rebound from a 1-4 start. The Minnesota Vikings have won 5 of their last 8 road games. Kirk Cousins is completing 67.2% of his passes for 1,498 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson have combined for 825 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns, while Jordan Addison has 19 receptions. The Minnesota Vikings ground game is averaging 80.8 yards per contest, and Alexander Mattison leads the way with 276 yards on 64 carries. Defensively, Minnesota is allowing 24 points and 342.4 yards per game. Cameron Bynum leads the Minnesota Vikings with 51 tackles. Danielle Hunter has 6 sacks, and Theo Jackson has 1 interception. The Chicago Bears look for back-to-back wins to improve to 2-4 on the season. The Bears have lost 9 straight home games. Justin Fields is completing 61.8% of his passes for 1,143 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. DJ Moore and Cole Kmet have combined for 762 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns, while Darnell Mooney has 8 receptions. The Chicago Bears ground game is averaging 130.8 yards per contest, and Khalil Herbert leads the way with 272 yards on 51 carries. Defensively, Chicago is allowing 31 points and 384.2 yards per game. TJ Edwards leads the Chicago Bears with 62 tackles. Yannick Ngakoue has 2 sacks, and Jack Sanborn has 1 interception. We have a battle between 2 National Football Conference North teams who are struggling this season, as the Vikings face the Bears, with each team holding a 1-4 record. The Bears are coming off a huge win against the Commanders on Thursday Night Football last week, and I believe this is the perfect buy low, sell high opportunity to take the Vikings on the money line. Yes, I know that Vikings star wide receiver Justin Jefferson was recently placed on injury reserve, but the Minnesota offense can make plays and move the ball down the field at any moment. They are ranked second in the NFL for most passing yards per game, and Kirk Cousins has been airing it out every week, with the likes of Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne putting up yards. It's not like the Vikings have been getting blown out every week, as all of their losses have been one-possession games. I believe their luck might turn this week. The Bears just embarrassed the Commanders last Thursday, but they have been against the ropes all season, and it was the first win in almost a year. Their offense has been struggling mightily. Before their last game, they were averaging under 20 points per game. The Bears' defense also has its own problems, allowing opposing offenses to score over 31 points per game. Their problems will likely continue this week, with Cousins looking to exploit their weak pass defense. This one is going to be interesting, as both teams come in 1-4 and minus some key contributors on the offensive side of the ball. Losing Jefferson is a big blow for the Vikings, especially if Addison is hampered at all by the ankle injury he's nursing. Meanwhile, the Bears could conceivably be down 2 or 3 running backs. They finished the game against Washington handing off to fullback Kari Blasingame due to those issues. Chicago's defense has some leaks, and that could prove problematic against a Minnesota team that does damage through the air. Despite the loss of Justin Jefferson, Minnesota is still talented enough on offense to score well over 20 points. I believe that people choosing the Bears are going off a recency bias, as their latest game played was their best one they've played all season. In the 4 games before that, they looked like the worst team in football by far. While Chicago won the offseason, they still have a long way to go in their rebuild. Meanwhile, Minnesota envisioned themselves as a playoff contender coming into the season. As bad as Minnesota's turnover plus-minus has been, I expect them to do a better job taking care of the ball as the season goes along. The Bears also have a -4 turnover ratio, and I believe they are more likely to lose the turnover battle in this one. Considering Minnesota has been losing by 1 score nearly every game, I expect the lack of turnovers to play a factor where they will do just enough to take care of business. The Minnesota Vikings can't finish games, and they're likely going to be without Justin Jefferson. Not ideal in a must-win game. The Bears played their best ball last week against the Commanders and had extra time to prepare after playing last Thursday. I can understand giving the Bears a look as an underdog. However, the Bears have defensive issues of their own, and the jury is still out on Justin Fields. One win over Washington doesn't move the needle that much. The Bears have still lost 15 straight games on Sunday. Must win if the Vikings are going to save their season. I'm predicting the Bears to go back to losing ways, and the Vikings will get a divisional win. Jefferson or not, the Vikings should win this game. So the Minnesota Vikings to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. I know the Bears' defense is one of the worst in the league, but they should have a good enough game plan to limit Kirk Cousins and the Vikings' pass offense, especially now that Justin Jefferson has been placed on injury reserve. With that in mind, it may take the Vikings a bit of time to gel in this one without their star receiver available. We all know how much the Bears' offense struggles to score and move the ball down the field. I'm expecting that issue to happen again on Sunday and for Justin Fields to go back to his old self and start making mistakes. This is the perfect game for the Vikings' defense to make adjustments and tweak things. I predict that they will be putting pressure on Justin Fields all game and force him to plenty of 3-and-outs and even a couple of turnovers. Divisional matchups typically wind up being low-scoring games because both teams are so familiar with each other. I believe that trend will continue Sunday between the Bears and Vikings. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. Indianapolis Colts versus Jacksonville Jaguars. The 3-2 Jacksonville Jaguars return home after an undefeated stint across the pond in London. Waiting at TIAA Bank Stadium as the equally poised 3-2 Indianapolis Colts takes on even greater significance given the recent twists in the plot. The Colts, who emerged victorious in their last outing, now find themselves grappling with a significant setback as their promising rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson, has been moved to IR after injuring his throwing shoulder against Tennessee. Meanwhile, the Jaguars, who have been up and down this season, are 1-1 so far in American Football Conference South play, but their win was on opening day in Indianapolis. The Colts met up with the Jaguars in their opener this year, ultimately taking a 31-21 defeat at home. The next 2 games were wins for Indianapolis, however, 31-20 versus the Texans and 22-19 in overtime against the Ravens. The Colts followed that up with another overtime game, this time a 29-23 loss to the Rams. Last weekend versus the Titans, Indianapolis put up points in every quarter along the way to a 23-16 win. Quarterback Gardner Minshew logged 155 yards off 1 of 4 passing. But Zach Moss set the pace for the offense with his 165 yards and 2 scores from 23 carries. Thompson receiving was Josh Downs on 97 yards from 6 catches. Over on the Jaguars side, they scored in every quarter in the opener win over the Colts, including 14 points in the 4th. Jacksonville took consecutive losses in their next pair, 17-9 versus the Chiefs and 37-17 against the Texans. The Jags were able to get back in the win column the next week 23-7 versus Atlanta in a matchup from Wembley Stadium. However, in their second London matchup against the Bills, Jacksonville scored 11 points in the first quarter and 14 more in the 4th during a 25-20 win. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence finished with 315 yards and 2 scores, but Travis Etienne paced the offense on 26 carries, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns of his own. Calvin Ridley added 122 yards from 7 receptions as well. Since 2018, both the Colts and Jaguars have won every home game against each other. That is, until this season. A team on the rise off a playoff win in 2022, the Jaguars are the favorites in the American Football Conference South, and they've responded accordingly. In Week 1, Jacksonville overcame a feisty Colts team for a 10-point victory, effectively ending a 5-year streak of losses at Indianapolis. 5 weeks later, and now the Jags are 4.5-point favorites at home against the very same team, sans the quarterback. Both teams are coming off impressive performances, although the Jaguars certainly have more to be excited about. Beating a top contender like the Bills, even if it was at their second home in London, is quite the accomplishment. For 2 straight weeks, the Jaguars' defense has played exceptionally well, much better than the unit we saw earlier in weeks 1 and 2. Trevor Lawrence's accuracy was also razor-sharp over the Jags' last 2 wins. The Colts beat the Titans in Week 5 in a victory that was surprising to some. But it's clear that Shane Steichen is a gifted play caller, and this is a team on the rise. A true mid on defense, the Colts can usually do enough to limit opposing offenses, but they'll need a superb effort by their offense if they hope to exact revenge on their divisional foe this Sunday. The Jaguars have just completed an arduous 2-week journey to London, which included back-to-back wins, followed by a return home with no bye week in between. Such a demanding schedule can take a toll on even the most resilient teams, causing fatigue and jet lag, which might affect their performance. Even without the travel, the Jaguars have not been particularly reliable when favored. Under Doug Peterson's leadership, they hold a 3-5-0 record against the spread as favorites. On the contrary, the Colts have shown promise as road underdogs, hosting a 5-4-0 against the spread record since the start of the previous season. Indianapolis will be without Anthony Richardson, which we believe lowers their offense's ceiling. But this is bound to be a close game between 2 rivals that are both riding some legitimate momentum, so the Indianapolis Colts to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. When examining recent trends, both teams have shown a propensity for lower scoring games following victories. The under has hit in 5 out of 7 games for the Jaguars and 2 out of 4 games for the Colts after wins since the start of the 2022 season. This pattern suggests that when these teams secure victories, they tend to adopt a more conservative, defensive approach, making it more likely for the total points scored to fall under the 44.5-point threshold. Moreover, the Jaguars are returning home from a 2-week trip to England, which can lead to jet lag and disrupted routines. Meanwhile, the Colts are adapting to a new starting quarterback in Gardner Minshew and are expected to still be reintroducing Jonathan Taylor to football. These factors can contribute to a slow start and a conservative approach on both sides of the ball, leading to a lower scoring affair in Duval County. Under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.